I thought we could just start if both of you could just talk about what you do, kind of musically in your sort of style. Um, and yeah, I thought that would be a good way to sort of deconstruct the piece that you've made. So, Denise, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. So, my name is Denise, and I am a composer for film and TV. But I also am very much like heavily influenced by pop alternative music. So, I like to think of that plus a little bit of classical music as my three main like realms as an artist, as a writer. Yeah, I have been actually thinking a lot lately about what my style is, and that's like one of the hardest things to answer for myself and
Mm,
therefore to the world because
sure.
I enjoy the evolution. I enjoy being constantly inspired by new things. So if I listen to something I've written 10 years ago versus today, there may be a through line here and there, which is just representative of my soul. But I think a lot of the a lot of the accompaniment, a lot of the instrumentation, a lot of the little details vary through time. So
Mm,
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
that's,
it evolves as we evolve as
yeah,
human beings.
yeah.
Yeah. And David, what about you?
Nice one. Yeah, I like what you're saying about evolution. I think yeah, it's kind of changing and morphing. Like I haven't had this question for a little while, and I'm just sort of like thinking about it, like who am I? What do I do? What is it that I do? Like I think it's for me like artistic expression through music mostly, and also using other things as well to express myself. I think the message is ultimately one of transformation and love, growth, development, and this kind of need, I think, in the world to be able to look within and to express outwardly, collectively, to to try and sort of realize ourselves really. So I think that's what my work is about, and I do that a lot through music. And I agree with how Denise talked about her music. It is hard to
Mhm.
talk about it in terms of like what it actually is, because it's like we're always constantly like finding that out. I feel like it's always being revealed to me, like, and when I put labels on it, it's like it as soon as I do that, it seems to change. So I think like uh, yeah, things are changing rapidly, but I've spent a long time with classical music, uh, and I listen to a lot of jazz, a lot of electronic music. It's electronically created because those are my tools, but I'm also using my voice now. So um, yeah, it's kind of a bit of a convoluted answer, but it's the
Mm.
best I can do right now.
No, it's a hard question, isn't it, to define yourself? Like, and I think where we're at now, we're required to sort of try and say what we do, on social media, or we're kind of having to like brand ourselves, sell
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, and say really succinctly like what it is that you do. But I think it's so hard when you're in it and you're living it,
Mm-hmm.
and like you said, Denise, you're evolving constantly. So yeah, it's hard to have that objective kind of perspective on yourself.
I think the only time we can really be defined is when we're dead.
Mm,
When there's
sure.
like no
Yeah.
more, there's nothing more after that. Then that's it. That's who you've been. That's who you are.
Mm. And even then, like all the people that knew you will probably have different
That's true.
interpretations
Yeah.
of you as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. It almost probably gets like redefined through the culture as things move on. Like people talk about David Bowie or something, and it's like,
Right.
oh, he was this and he was that, and then everyone says, oh no, he was none of those things because he was just constantly transitioning. There's always new definitions, and
Yeah.
it's
Mm.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the rules of power to be constantly changing and reinventing yourself. Um, So is reinvention a part of the process for both of you?
I think it is definitely for me. Even within when I'm working on a project, I really struggle with repeating myself within the same confines of a project, and it's been kind of a blessing and a curse because when you don't have a lot of time, then it's really hard to not do the same things. And in a way, because it's for the same project, it would make sense to be within the theme, would be within the same confines. You come up with the same output. But I try to even just change a little bit of the melody. Like, even if I'm the only one who's noticing that there's a change, like, I kind of like have this itch to not repeat exactly the same things. Even in interviews, I describe myself differently sometimes.
Yeah, where does that come from, do you think, not wanting to repeat yourself?
I don't know. I really haven't thought about that very much. I don't know. It's a great question. I will ponder on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I
What
guess
about you, David?
I,
Do you reinvent consciously?
it's interesting because it's like I was just thinking, Denise, when you were talking about like playing an instrument and like when you sit down on an instrument and like because I think we're all like muscle memory beings, right? It's like that kind of learning process of like the intellect, you put it into the body and then you're like sat and you know, when I sit down at a piano, it's like it's so easy to switch off and then do the thing that I know how to play. And I always challenge myself to sit down and do something that's out. That's the first thing I'll do, like something out of my comfort zone which I can't really play. And that's where I'll start. That's my starting point. Because yeah, like you want it to be fresh and you want it to be interesting for yourself, right? Because it gives you that energy and like you're curious and you're exploring and it's like because I was thinking about this process that we've gone through for the piece transition and like how we're constantly in relation to the universe. It's like you know me and Denise have collaborated on this piece, but Denise has collaborated with the universe. I've collaborated with the universe. So it's like there's other collaborators, right? Invisible collaborators. And I definitely feel like that. Like when I'm doing anything, it's like I play quite a small role in it. And it's like I'm just kind of allowing like the energy to come in or at least be available for that energy to come in. Because like sometimes you just write something where it's like, you just never would imagine you would have done that. You're just like, what is that? What the hell? Like I made that? Like it's trippy. It's like, how did I really? Like there's some pieces like that. I'm just like, did I? That's so not like me. So so yeah, I think I'm always open to things being unexpected.
I think that's the beauty of collaboration. It really brings something out of you that you don't expect because you're reading from other energies that are so outside of yourself. And I think what we ended up coming up with is like I have that same reaction, like I can't believe we did that. I can't believe I was part of that because it feels I see myself, but I also see so many other things, you and the universe and whatever we were going through when we were writing that. And it's been a really beautiful process.
Yeah, I was writing something about friendship the other day actually, and how, all the different friends that I've had throughout my life have kind of awakened different parts in me that maybe would have stayed dormant if I hadn't met that person. And it sounds like there was something going on with this process. So I'm interested to know which parts of you or which styles were awakened by this collaboration?
Do you want to go first, or should I go first?
Yeah. You go, Denise.
Okay. I think definitely this like calm side of me was brought out, and also this surrender was brought out, because also before we started working on this track, David and I like went on a Zoom and just kind of caught up and got to know each other a little bit better. And it made me feel just like really, I felt safe writing this music. Also, it's different from what I usually write in the sense that there is no brief, there is no story, like movie that I'm kind of supporting. It's just with this track that David and I did, it was just come as you are and just write down whatever feels natural. So that was really liberating, and it gave me a sense of calm. And I think I really feel that in the track.
Me too. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah, calm and surrender. I think me too. I can really relate to that too. Yeah, I think when we spoke, it was like that for me was the thing. Like it was like when we connected on the Zoom call, it was like it was there. Like I knew that it was there. Like I could feel that it was there. And then when we spoke, it was like it showed itself to me, and I could sort of feel the power of it. And when I came off the call, I felt really affected, like emotionally affected, and even just connecting with it now, I can feel that powerful emotion of it. It's like, yeah, allowing vulnerability and surrender to allow Denise to be able to express herself in the freest possible way, that and allowing for a safe, trusting space. Yeah, I could really feel the power of that, because I think tension and stress is such an enemy of creativity. And when you can really relax and you can really open up, you can really express yourself emotionally. So it was a really great way to like let go of like trying to control as well. Like that's the surrender thing, like to just let it be whatever it is, to just let it be that.
And I know you mentioned there, Denise, that normally you're working to a brief or a story. So was it scary for you not having anything like that, not having any of those kind of limitations?
Actually, I thought it would be, but it wasn't. It felt so good, especially because over the past year I've started just free writing in the morning as a way of journaling. So this just felt like another exercise in that, just letting the ideas flow and trusting that, through this collaboration, that it will be held properly. So it ended up not being scary at all. And I'm very grateful too for like David's like welcoming energy this whole time. And I think if it wasn't for the combination of our characters and personalities, I wouldn't feel this safe. But I think the sum of the parts just really allowed for me to feel not scared and actually confident and encouraged.
Yeah, I can really hear that in the piece. You can hear the heart, like both of your hearts kind of being open in the process. So was it like that right from the start? You said you had a Zoom call where you just talked about where you were at. I'm just interested to know what that call was like, what you talked about.
Yeah, we talked about like life and like being a creative person, writing music, and like the dreams and like the the cosmos, and like it was super deep exchange, and we just were able to like cover like a huge amount of topics, I think. And it was really nice for me to like be able to like connect in that way, because it's like, I think there's just so many similarities in terms of like the struggles that we go through in our creative life and in our life in general. So it felt like quite validating, and it just felt really exciting. Like when I came off, it was quite emotional, and exciting, and yeah, it's just kind of a beautiful experience for me, I think.
It feels really kind of organic to do it that way, where you're just sort of open to each other and what you're going through at that point, rather than sort of trying to do it in a let's sit down and talk about the piece and talk about what instruments we're going to use and all of that, which I assume is probably how a lot of musical collaborations work.
It's a really good point. We didn't even talk about
No.
the music itself.
That's great.
I mean, we didn't even have like a plan, really. Like we were just talking about life, and life came through,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a really nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think there was a moment at the end of the call where we were like, "Wow, okay," and then you were like, "Oh, okay, shall we set up a Dropbox folder?" It's like, "Yeah, we'll set that up."
Oh yeah, about the project. That's so true. No.
Well, that must be refreshing for you, Denise. Like, I imagine you have to work to a lot of deadlines and a lot of planning, and like people telling you what they want.
Yes.
So yeah, I can see how that would be a nice change.
Yes, definitely a welcome change.
Yeah. So what was the next step then after the Zoom call? Who took that next step, and then how did you jump off?
I believe it was I told David about this ambient piece that I wrote a while back that's kind of been like sitting in my computer, don't know what to do with it, and I sent it to him just to get an idea of whether or not it inspires him. And he wrote back with an entire like lyrics and like a vocal line and just like arrangement of it, and that really got the ball rolling for us. And then I think we just like started exchanging. We just started adding more from that initial like ambient and vocal layer, right?
Yeah, I really liked what you sent, and I think I got it in the morning. So yeah, we've got this shared folder. Denise had this idea. She put it in there, which is really the starting and building block of the entire vibe. Really has come from you, Denise, because it's like just that initial kind of place is like everything grows from that, really. Like all the decisions kind of come from that beginning point. So and I think I got it in the morning, because obviously we've got different time zones,
Right.
so I think you might have sent it in the evening or something, and I got it in the morning, and I listened to it over coffee. And I was going to the gym that day, and as I was walking to the gym, I just had sort of like things coming into my mind, basically. And I got it up on my phone, and I was walking down Feeder Road in Bristol, which is like really, really super busy road. It's a really nice road for me, because I get to like practice singing because it's really noisy, right, with cars, so no one can hear me. So like when big lorries come past, like I'll do really loud notes, you know, and I'll be humming all the way there. It's like 25 minutes to get there. So I'll do humming and warm-ups, and then I'll do my loud notes on Feeder Road. So I was on Feeder Road, and then I just had something come to me, and I just thought, oh shit, okay, I need to get something down because like now's the time. So I got the what Denise had sent me up on the phone in my headphones, and then I just did this like improvisation, like listened back to it with all this like really loud traffic sound, but it was enough for me to sort of like get a reference point. And I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. It was the melody that is in the piece, and it was a few words. That I basically that came from the session. It came from us chatting in that initial session that we did. So it was like a line or two. It might have been the transition line. It was something like that. I can't quite remember. It's something like that. A couple of lines, and then I recorded it into the phone. And then when I was at the gym, more stuff just kept coming. So I was just sort of like making notes in there too. And sort of like by the time I got back, I'd sort of written it like more or less. And I kind of sat down at a notebook and I sketched out the lyrics. And then I was like, okay, right, I'm just going to cancel everything I've got going on tomorrow. And I'm just going to fucking do it and get it down. I was in a good position to be able to cancel things. And I was just, you know, but this is going to be priority. Because it was just in me, you know, it was just there. Like I just needed to get it out. I needed to get it out now, you know, that real sense of like urgency with it. So yeah, the next day I just recorded all the vocals. It's probably the quickest I've ever done of you know, I don't really consider myself to be a vocalist, to be honest. Like
That's
I'm
surprising.
You're very kind. You're very kind. You know, it's a relatively new thing for me, and so it's still very vulnerable to do it. Like, you know, and I was sort of freaking out about like, oh, you know, I had loads of like imposter syndrome and like, I had all sorts of stuff going on in my head at times. But I had a great day doing it. I felt really amazing doing it. And at the end of the day, I was just like, wow, okay. I was tempted to send it to you that day, but then I was like, no, calm down. Jade talked to me. She was like, look, just leave it till tomorrow. Okay. Listen to it back tomorrow and then send it.
So you could have sent it that day anyway, because you didn't change anything. You just needed to give it time to breathe, and then you sent it.
I get a bit overexcited sometimes, so like, yeah, I'm just like, Jade, what do you think about this? And you're just like, just sleep on it.
Okay.
And it's good because like the next day, you know, it was all there, but I did a little bit more editing, you know, just tidied it up a little bit and stuff, and then sent it.
God, I thought it could have been a lesson on trusting your intuition, but I guess not. I guess you ended up changing things anyway, so never mind.
Yeah, it's a balance, right? Because I get obsessive, and I get like, you know, like it's great to get excited and really just motivated and have that sense of urgency, and that's great. But then that can turn into like high achiever, like what I want to get everything done really quickly. I'm trying to push myself, and that can go spiral into a negative place. It's like excitement can get to stress quite quickly. So I have to sort of. Jade's really good at helping.
Well, it's like restlessness, isn't it? And I just recognise it because I have it as well. So it's kind of parallel thing that we have where, yeah, I just want to get things done. And like, it just, sometimes I think it can just benefit you and the piece to just give it a little bit of space and you know, just step away from it and then come back to it. I think there's something with all creative work that is really good about like having just fresh eyes, fresh ears on it, you know, the next day. So So yeah, it's interesting what you were talking about there, David. You know, walking to the gym and feeling this rush of inspiration. Is that something that you experience a lot? Where, because that's something I get as well, where like I'm out running and I'll just suddenly get like a flash of an idea. Something about like my body being in motion and my brain being kind of, I don't know, a bit more open to receiving maybe. So yeah, is that a common thing for you and for you as well, Denise?
You can go ahead.
Yeah, basically, it does happen that way. Yeah, I get excited, you know, and then I'll go and do something, and then it'll come. Yeah, yeah, it can happen that way. Got to get it down, recorded,
Yeah,
quickly.
I think definitely same. I'll if I'm like working really hard on something, I'll take a break, like go snuggle with my dog and my husband, and like eat snacks together, and then like I'll get ideas from that little break, or it's important to step away and just, I guess, receive from the universe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a picture of your dog.
Biscuit.
Biscuit, right?
Yeah.
I may or may have not sent too many dog pictures.
No,
No.
we can never have enough dog
We're loving it.
pictures.
We're obsessed.
Okay, so what? Sorry, you go, Denise.
I also sent pictures of my husband for the record.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah.
was not all dog.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see a little kind of window into your life in that way.
I know, same. I mean, I wish we lived in the same city. Like, how fun would that be? But
Yeah,
we live so far away.
yeah. Well, if you're ever in the UK, come and see us.
I will. Definitely.
Yeah, we're coming to LA.
Yes,
We're going to make that
For
happen.
sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I'd love to. Yeah. Okay, so we've got to the vocal part that you recorded, David. So then, what was the next stage? And Denise, what did you kind of feel when you heard the vocals?
I think the first thing I added was the beat. I added, like, I took out my little synth and just jammed on it. And I got really carried away with that because like I was so inspired by what David had sent me. So I sent him back like a stack of beat elements that he so masterfully just like spliced and picked and like choose the right which ones to keep. And but yeah, I remember when I first sent it to him, it also had like a ton of effects, and he helped me kind of quiet my excited mind when it comes to like adding that. And then I think I played bass on it too, and then I sent it over if I remember correctly. And then
Yeah, I think I think it was bass and guitar later. I think the first one you sent, if I remember correctly, I might be remembering this wrong, but it was like a kind of like synth parts, right? So more like staccato synth and with
yes.
a beat. And
Yes.
do you remember doing that? Like,
Yes.
I love that. I love
Yes.
that.
Yes, I think, okay, now I'm remembering it. I think what I felt like I wanted to add some like motion because as it was like this ambient pad and a beautiful vocal on top. And I felt like at that time I was really inspired by just having clear motion in my tracks. So that's why I added the kind of plucky synth and then a beat. And I think the guitar was the very last thing that I added. Like the guitar parts that are in the like interludes. I think that was towards the end of the process that I added that because I started listening to McGee. I don't know if you are both fans of him, but wonderful artist, great guitar player, and I just got really inspired by his guitar lines. So I started also trying to emulate that. I can never live up to his guitar playing, but I think that was one of the last things that I added.
What did you use, Denise? Just out of curiosity, for like the beats and the synths and like what?
I
Because
believe
obviously I didn't see any of it. But...
It's all the OP1.
Right. Wow. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because we were
It's just
also we wrote this in 432 hertz. So I remember I had my OP1 set up for that 432, so I wrote in that, yeah. And then for the guitar, I've started using this thing called like a. Have you heard of rubber bridge guitars?
I'm not sure.
It's like someone started modifying vintage guitars and replacing the bridge with a rubber so that it sounds muted and you mostly just hear the fundamental note. Like it cancels out some of the harmonics. So I found, or Josh, my husband, got me this device that kind of mimics that sound without having to replace my bridge. So let me see if I can find it. It's somewhere here. It's actually attached to a guitar right now. But basically, you can switch it to any guitar and it creates that sound. So I was really into that when we were working on this track. So I was using an acoustic guitar with that. So if it sounds like I'm palm muting, but it's really just that attachment that's making that sound.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so what did all of that add to the piece for you, David? Like when you heard it, what did you feel, and you know, how did you approach your kind of next stage of the development?
Well, I think I really vividly remember when Denise sent it back. So when it came back that day, it made me cry actually. Hearing it, it was really powerful, and I the thing that I got from it was that like how much you listened to it, to what I'd sent you. And because there's this synth part which is kind of like does this melody that you wrote, which is kind of like I don't know if I can imitate doing it now. It's just kind of a dun dun dun, something like that.
Yeah.
But it exactly matches in another way one of the vocal melodies. Like it's just like perfect. It just sits completely perfectly, and I don't know. It just made me emote that you were able to like have that level of listening, you know, to be able to write like that, and it gave me a really big emotional reaction. I was in tears, and I thought we were done at that point. I was like, wow, this is great. Like, I don't know what I'm just happy with this. Like, I think at that stage, it was like, okay, we finished, but I had no idea that there was so much more that you were able to like bring. Like, so I think at that stage when I got that, like, it was like, right, okay, I'm not gonna provide any like writing synths or parts or anything to it, like, because I was just thinking about my role like in the collaboration, and I think you were coming up with just such amazing music that I just really didn't feel like I needed to do that. I felt I'll just support you and like really be there for the things that you're doing musically, and I'll act as like more of a producer role in that, like, okay, if I was going to produce Denise, you know, what would I do? And so it was like a less is more type thing. It's like, okay, I'm going to leave it alone because it's great. And I'm just going to like shape some of Denise's material. And so I went about it like that. And so I think I did one kind of like effects process in that part, in that stage. And the reason I did that was because at the time it was a kind of 2 chord progression mostly, something like that, 2 or 4, something like that, 2 4 chords. And I was concerned at the time, and I didn't know what was to come, and it was kind of an awesome thing that you did later on, but I didn't know that you were going to do it, that it was going to be too repetitive. So what I did was, instead of like writing new synth parts or new chords on another instrument, I just like did this effects reverb, and it's still in the mix in the final version, you can hear it. I did this kind of like shimmering reverb that sustained one of the chords outwardly, so it sort of like sounds like another section. So it's sort of change. But later on, Denise is your bass player, and I didn't imagine what she did. I'll let her talk about that part, but yeah, it's like those chords are only those chords if the bass notes are those bass notes.
Right.
If like you change those bass notes, there are the chords. I was like, whoa! I didn't think of that. It really inspired me to write. I wrote another piece, and I did exactly that same technique straight away, because it was like, yes, that's a great technique. I'm going to use that. So yeah, so I just did some refinement, and then I sent it back again to Denise at that stage.
And I agree. I think there was a point where we said, all right, this is done. I think we were kind of preparing to mix and master. And then I messaged you. I was like, wait. Like, I feel so inspired to just sparkle in 1 or 2 more things. And that's when I added the guitar. And that, after that, it felt complete to me. And like there was no longer any like itch that I needed to scratch after I added that. But yeah, to speak to the bass stuff, I think that comes a lot from like my film scoring inspiration, because oftentimes when I write, or when film scorers oftentimes do this thing where there's like a cluster of notes at the top that is sustained throughout a scene, and it's really the bass notes that change the chord, thus changing the emotion. So I think that's where that inspiration comes from. Like we just had the same stuff and the high frequencies throughout, and then my instinct as a composer for film came in with the bass stuff, and I just took my guitar and just really jammed on it, not knowing where it would take me, but it did take us there eventually.
So good. So good. And there's a great bit of diplomacy that I just, in admiration of you for doing, actually, because like originally I put a temporary bass on it.
And we kept
on
that,
the track.
right?
No, we took it out. It was always going to be temporary, and it was just like, what, I think I did it when I recorded the vocals, right? Because it was like,
Right.
I just needed something in the low end register just when I had the mix through my headphones. So I had this like temporary bass on there, and it was just something I did literally in about 2 or 3 minutes at the end of the day, to just put it to, or at the beginning of the day rather, before I started recording, and that kind of like remained on it. But you recorded the bass over it and sent it back, which I thought was really clever, because we talked about that when I interviewed you. And yeah, for people listening, if you haven't listened to the interview that we did when we first met, do check out that episode. It's a great episode. But you mentioned being really, when I asked you the question, I was like, oh, so what makes you so successful, do you think, as a composer in Hollywood? And you're like, well, because I'm kind of like able to be diplomatic. It was something like that. Like I'm able to work with other people well and not get my ego involved. And I just like, you sent it back with the bass that I'd done with your bass on top. And then I was the one to take off the kind of crappy bass that I did. I thought that was really clever.
Actually, to this point, there was a little bit of discomfort for me that you allowed so much of me to exist in the music, because usually it's like it's almost like I'm asked to in like collaborations with film, it's like I'm usually asked to obviously serve the story more and serve my desires less. So there was a little bit of discomfort that you were so receptive to everything that I was sending you, and it felt too good to be true. Like, please turn down something, David. So, I mean, it's not lost on me that you were, so receptive to that. But I really appreciate that, and I would like to experience another collaboration where, you'd shut me up sometimes. But maybe that's just, me being, what do you call that? Just get out of habit.
I love it. That's great. I love it. That's really cool.
But yeah, also because when I sent that to you, it was more like, take it or leave it. You can keep it, or you can mute it. So I was surprised that you actually kept it.
Well, the part that you did,
Yeah.
you're surprised that I kept that. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Because I was surprised that you hadn't just ditched the kind of crappy thing that I put there. I figured but I think it was clever though. It was clever that I did that, because you did send it to me with both of the parts in one file. So I had to then request you to send me, so then I could check that one out and then mix yours. No, it's nice. It's nice. Like I do appreciate it. I think, yeah. yeah. But I think there's something to learn from that, because I just think it's just a really clever way to collaborate. Because people can be really difficult with wanting their ideas to be the ones that happen. And I think when we talked initially, we were both like, look, this isn't about what I want, it's about what's right for the piece. And we both were like, yeah, I was just like, I'm going to take my ego out of this, and you were like, yeah, me too. So it was kind of like understood that it was like all about the piece. And then for me, like, I think there was a part of me that had to let go, and that was also difficult, right? Because it's like, normally I'm the person that does all of the musical stuff and and I had to let go, and it was the right thing 100% to let go and let you do it. Like, definitely, absolutely no doubt in my mind, I absolutely love everything that you have done for that piece, and you've done most basically the music, more or less. I think maybe my role was like, I helped you maybe get there a bit, in terms of just like what you were saying, just being completely welcoming of everything, and like, so I really enjoyed that part of it. And I think I did do some edits, right? So I made some decisions, like how to shape the material. So yeah, I did like 7 hours on the mixing the beat, which was interesting. But I don't know if I'm getting ahead of myself now. But that was one thing I did.
Well, I can really
sort of the
feel
mix,
I can really feel how you refined the beat, because there was a lot going on when I sent it to you. So I feel that energy that you put into it.
Awesome. Yeah, what did you use for the beat, by the way, Denise?
It's also the OP1.
The OP1.
Yeah.
Wow. A beast.
I know, it's a beast.
Amazing. Yeah, it's funny because when I mixed the beat, I hurt my foot, So
Oh no.
there's so many things that I learned through this process. You see, like, because I sat down, you sent the beat, right, and I was like, right, I'm going to get this beat done today. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do it, right. So I just sat there for like 7 hours, basically, without really taking much of a break. I took lunch, but I basically just sat there in the same position, and I had my foot in a weird place, and
Oh my
I
God.
strained it. I
Oh
strained it, and it
no.
hurt for like a week afterwards.
I'm so sorry.
No, please don't apologize. It's my own fault. But this is my high achiever. This is my high
Yeah.
achiever, right? It's like, so a bit of the learning for me was like, I I I want urgency. I want things to be like, oh, I'm inspired. I'm going to do it. Let's do it. And there it is. But at the same time, I need to keep myself in check because my saboteurs come in, and then I just fucking kill myself with work. Like I've done it loads in the past, for like commissions on timelines, and like
Yeah.
I've had breakdowns because I just work myself to death. So
Yeah.
that was a learning experience. It was like, right, okay, I need to learn from that and chill a bit as well.
Especially when the stakes aren't that high, we need to let ourselves also relax.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. And what did you learn from this, Denise?
I think it was just really learning to be vulnerable and let myself be seen like in such a raw way, because I'm so used to presenting an almost finished product, and I had to allow myself to send stuff to David that was, just drafts of ideas, and that was really helpful that he was so receptive to it. And I think I'm learning that it's sometimes showing the process is also meaningful.